Welcome back, everybody, to Battle Hardened Los Angeles. Mitch Leslie here with Taylor Morrow, coming at you with round number 7 here. We have a chance to talk about how our standings are starting to shape up here as of the end of round 6, Taylor. Some locals, a lot of local faces actually in top cuts so far, and some fun prospects as we head into top 8. So before we jump on the match, we very quickly mention we got Anthony Pham at 6-0, Ian Smith at 6-0, and Brandon Abaka all at 6-0. Feiyu Kai, another local at 5-1. John Ho, 5-1. Kaiser Tan, Brian Ordona, and John Abanto are there at 5-1. Tao Tao Chu and Brody Spurlock just sitting outside of that top 8 at 9th and 10th respectively as it stands. We're ready for a game. We're not going to waste too much time. I'm going to jump straight into this one. It's going to be Peter Loderup on Lexi, up against Feiyu Kai on Icelander.
Yeah, this is, well, Feiyu, as we talked about, is 5-1 right now.
Feiyu might be on Kano, no?
I think we will find out.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
he's on Kano. Okay.
That's what I thought too.
So I know Peter. He's a local that plays out of Kingslayer. Father of, I think he's father of 2, father of 1. Another Fab Dad. So we definitely bond over that at times. But yeah, obviously played a lot of Icelander during her heyday and made the switch over to Lexi. Had a really, couple of really close games to get him here. And Feiyu, of course, I think last AG Open? Feiyu made a really deep run, maybe in the one prior to that here, but he's no stranger to top 8s. The AG Opens on Kano most often. It was Aiden Kosneski actually played against Peter, I think, in round 5, and that one went down to the wire. Peter got the win. So it was a Dash versus Lexi matchup.
Awesome. Well, we'll see how prepared Peter is for this matchup, how much AB he has brought. And
he's a big Wizard player in the
Peter
past.
Is.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So maybe he has the respect. Maybe he doesn't. We'll find out.
My first ever game of Flesh and Blood at a sanctioned event, it was a skirmish. He's Kano versus my Kasai. So that's how I got my
baptized.
First experience, yeah. Did not go well for me, but...
Nope. That's a terrible matchup that I've tried to make work many times because Kasai is one of my favorite heroes.
Yeah.
But just dies to Kano, so can't really play it.
Peter went through the painstaking process of explaining to me what it meant to play on my turn, and I had to very quickly understand what it meant to hold cards back in my hand for arcade. But I did have the correct equipment. Obviously, yeah, but didn't quite know how to use it. That null rune gear. So Feiyu, yeah, look, really seasoned competitor. We've got 2 locals here, suffice to say. Feiyu, you'll often see him at Collector Legion, for example, definitely playing on this side. Peter, you'll see him more over towards the Orange County area, Kingslayer Games.
So it looks like Peter is just showing up with Heart of Ice. So only AB1, but will make it much tougher for Kano here to make an activation, since that makes all of your stuff cost 1 more for the turn. So he's also running, it looks like, Codex of Inertia, which is also going to be pretty good in this matchup, that Inertia token, so Kano won't be able to save a particular combo piece in Arsenal when that gets off. Shout out to Majin Bey in the background there, wearing a jersey that says his name on the back.
So nice, that's the Kayfabe Cards jersey. Him and Peter Bedensik representing that team. All right, Bolton Shot will kick us off here. Peter opting to go turn 0, load him up, and let's see what our Kano opponent has in store.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, you know, as Feiyu, you could definitely push some damage here because we don't have a Heart of Ice activation, but electing to just block out here and not get that life total any lower.
So we have a second Voltaire activation here from Peter after giving the +1 to the Bolton Shot. Searing Shot in the arsenal.
I believe Peter's probably thinking about whether or not to fire this off or just pass and set up a 6-card hand. Since Kano only has 2 cards, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Like I mentioned, Peter, no stranger to playing Wizard. That was his go-to prior to this, so should have a decent idea of what Feiyu is capable of. A lot of Kanos up towards those top tables.
Yeah, just a lot of Wizards doing pretty well today. We've seen a lot on stream, different varieties and stuff. So very exciting. There we go. See? Codex of Inertia.
Codex of Inertia coming on down. Tell me sort of how that plays into Kano or what Kano's game plan is, because I imagine, like, if you want to sit a a wildfire in Arsenal, that's tough to do with inertia.
Yeah, exactly. So if Feiyu happens to have a card they would like to save to put into Arsenal or draw into one on their turn, that would be not possible because inertia token at the end phase, you have to put all of the cards from your arsenal or hand on the bottom of your deck. So putting the top card of your deck into your arsenal as
Gives
well.
you like a heat seeker-esque effect, I guess,
Yeah.
for the Lexi player as well.
Yeah.
And throw, again, having face-down, face-up cards in Arsenal.
I think that's a premeditate he just threw in there.
Okay, not too shabby.
And then got a discard now that you've potentially done that. So Feiyu potentially will think to activate Kano just to try to find some sort of value.
Got one pitch floating, so shields are basically down.
Oh, three of a kind. Pretty good for later.
So we are deploying the Searing Shot.
Oh, there goes the wildfire.
Peter, very happy to see the Aether Wildfire on block duty.
That's a great place to have it on block duty if you are the Lexi player for sure. This is a pretty great start for Peter. I mean, you just start with a 3 of a kind in your arsenal. You have a ponder token, so you got a 6-card hand here with one of your best cards ready to rip and go. Pretty excellent.
Yeah. Searing Shot obviously gets over by the block by 1 damage, then obviously pings for another one. And yeah, that 3 of a kind, right? I mean, if there's any turn where you feel like you actually have to pitch a little bit to Arcane Barrier, maybe lose some cards. 3 of a kind, pretty frightening in Lexi in general, allowing you to essentially refill your hand after being forced to maybe part with some cards. A little bit harder to do that here, as it's a fairly limited amount of Arcane Barrier.
Whew, boy, that Eye of Ophidia was pretty close to the top of the deck and could have been...
That would have been it. I feel like that would have been it, man.
Just concede, probably, if that gets codexed in there. Sheesh. That's what Blake says.
Sheesh. Sheesh. Yeah, getting that stuck in Arsenal. Oof, that is not good.
But alas, he avoided that, so getting to opt here, thinking about his life and his choices and what the future might hold for him.
Bearing in mind, obviously, that that Arsenal zone is virtually unusable for the end of Feiyu's turn.
Yeah, totally. It would be interesting to see what he has in there, if he'll just ignore it and then put it on the bottom of the deck, or if it's actually a spell he would like to cast.
We are deciding on our opt ordering here from this Eye of Ophidia pitch.
Top, then bottom. So it's 2 Chain Lightnings in hand, I think. Oh, a bunch of Kanos there, under 1 Kano. I do like it that that's becoming a habit in Flesh and Blood, is having multiple tokens of your hero or weapon, so you can represent that they are now on the stack or combat chain.
It's something that Arya Howe does with her Dorinthia as well, multiple Dawn Blades under, so she can represent.
Aren't they both cold foil too?
Probably.
Or foil?
They're not the most pricey.
Yeah.
I mean, we're looking at Eye of Ophidia on the board right now, so they're
well,
relatively accessible.
Just a nice flex, you know. Just a nice flex. Like, check out my bling.
So Blazing Aether off the top. Interesting time to see that one.
That's very true. Let's see if we can string something together here, because it will, come in for quite a bit of damage with only 1 AB that Peter has access to.
Peter currently in 15th place with 5-1 record. His opponent, 4th place, 5-1.
Yep. And we have 1 round to go after this one before we cut to top 8.
Use your Crucible of Aetherweave.
Oh, maybe not. Faking us out.
A little bit of math here for you, I think.
What is Flesh and Blood but math,
Depends if you're blocking or not, I suppose.
Still got to do math.
Yep.
Christine agrees. Yeah, shout out to our producing team here at the Battle Hardened LA. They've been doing a great job and keeping us really honest, and just been a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, not only this event, but obviously all your AGE Opens of the past, last year's Battle Hardened. Great to have a fantastic sort of local dynamic duo, really propping up Flesh and Blood out here in SoCal and putting on some awesome events. Wouldn't be here without them. So, I guess if we talk about maths, I think the only maths that Peter has to worry about is projectile motion equations as he tries to throw his cards as quickly as possible at Feiyu when it comes back to him. But all right, well, there's some action going on over here. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. It might be one of those chain lightnings time to emerge from the grip.
Yep, because we've now played the Tome of Aether Wind, so Chain Lightning will proc, which you'll be able to play your next non-attack action as an instant and deal 3 arcane damage. So we might see the fabled Chain Lightning, which is, I think, its intended design, but rarely happens. So here we go. Chain Lightning comes down, 3 arcane, and may play your next non-attack action as an instant. It's actually 4, I suppose, because of the Crucible? Of Aether Weave.
That also means that, yeah, Feiyu can, deploy multiple of these, another from hand potentially. It doesn't have to rely on the top of the deck to sort of circumvent the action point limitations.
Yep, and just a classic Wizard player, seemingly in a really tough spot with the inertia token, finding a way to navigate through that and clapping back with, I think, is going to be a pretty good turn here.
It's a drill shot in pitch there. Peter looks like taking 2.
Makes sense. We've got to keep track of how much damage Peter's taking because then...
Telling the judge, Connor, stand here. I'm playing Kano. Hang around.
I wonder what the judge call here is. I wonder if he's asking if he can play his arsenal card as an instant, or if he can let that card resolve, then play it as an instant. These are only guesses, of course.
Yep. That was the card that Feiyu held on to and instead ended up taking that 2 damage from the searing shot. And it needs to probably get out of the pocket this turn, otherwise it's going bye-bye, thanks to our good friend Inertia.
Yep. And I definitely have misspoke in the beginning there because I forget that Bullseye Bracers has an extra paragraph that has Arcane Barrier. So we actually have Arcane Barrier 2 here, so a little bit more protected than we had initially led on to. So thanks for not roasting me in the chat. Maybe it's because it's lunchtime. Everybody's had a little lunch. Actually, I guess it's not. It's kind of late. Huh?
I mean,
almost dinner time.
I definitely got my lunch in. Ooh, and fish tacos across the road, kind of fire. Well, we've seen more so Briar, I think, but sometimes the Shock Charmers. In the for the elemental hero in this matchup can be pretty powerful. Just force your opponent to go a little bit higher in terms of that sort of combo turn to blow you up. But I mean, Bullseye Braces having that onboard AB plus that extra effect, to, especially when it comes to opponents sort of not respecting Endless Arrow.
Yeah, a really good piece of common equipment that's a staple in every Ranger deck.
All right, we are in the tank already.
Well, they seem to be having a good time. Smiles on some faces.
I mean, you really can't put a foot wrong here, because if you aren't able to incentivize your opponent here to part with some cardboard, then they are going to hit you with the full force of 1,000 suns. It's just not. I mean, looking at Lexi, I mean, the things that she can do right now is pretty out there. So here's that second Chain Lightning. Well, we actually have a flavor win on this card.
Yeah, exactly. This is the exact scenario you want to see happen when you have Chain Lightning.
So it means that Feiyu's next Wizard non-attack action card can be played as if for an instant. People's like, as a fellow Wizard player, I can definitely weigh in on any uncertainty you may have. Like, for example, suggesting you don't attack me at all.
Yeah, I wonder what that discussion is about. Because I believe second Chain Lightning is being played by the first Chain Lightning, and he still has one other card he may play.
Drill Shot perhaps not the most relevant on-hit effect in this matchup.
Yeah.
And again, Peter's really happy to sort of pitch these away. There's a 3 of a kind in Arsenal ready to sort of top him back up. An Aether Flare now coming out of the pocket. Again, at instant speed. Remember, there's a Blazing Aether ready to be deployed here. So
yeah, it's pretty good. I think that's the red Aether Flare too. So it's coming in for 3 and will give a multiplicative effect to that Blazing Aether as well.
Peter says, I'm A-being 2 of this.
So then Blazing will come in for 1, 2, 3, 4,
5, right?
5. Or 8? Is it times 2? Nope, just 5.
No, just it's the amount of damage
Correct.
dealt prior to this again.
That was a test.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Is that one of your quiz questions?
No, they're much more fun than that.
Okay, that's great. I was terrified.
Yeah.
All right, so look, respectable from Feiyu. Obviously, you know, no ability to really get a wildfire set up here. Peter is happy to pitch those 2 cards away with a 3 of a kind. As we've discussed, can really easily refill the hand and still threaten potential like 3-arrow turn.
Yeah.
Heart of Ice.
Fortunate that he had 2 blues. It looks like he actually has 3 blues with that Frostlock.
Frostlock here. Yep.
We're getting pitched. So activating the Heart of Ice.
Yeah, obviously, both Frostlock and Heart of Ice, very similar effects. Very disruptive to the Kano player. Would have to start paying extra. All right, so here's that 3 oak. Give me 3 cards. Can only deploy cards from Arsenal now. I think Endless Arrow I saw go into hand there. Yep, that's nice.
Heat Seeker as well, and a Sleep
Dart,
which is pretty relevant against Kano. Because if Kano doesn't have his hero ability, then he's just another regular chump out there on the street.
I mean, yeah, with 10 less life. It's rough out there.
Yeah.
So Bolton shot here in the pocket. You see that getting flipped by Lexi's ability. So having a face-up card in Arsenal is pretty important here for Peter.
Absolutely means he can load another arrow.
Endless goes in, so load that here, give it a go again. So already we're starting to ask Feiyu the question. How many cards are you willing to part with here? Especially with the Sleep Dart in hand. Peter hoping to draw some blocks as early as possible.
Yeah. And, yeah, this is a tough place to be in. So you're definitely going to take some damage as Feiyu, because you kind of have to 2-block 2 of these arrows here.
Yeah, maybe the least relevant on in effect of cards in Peter's hand. The next few look even better. I remember there's still obviously Bullseye available, Snapdragon still there. See a Bolton shot that, you know, as it starts in the arsenal, can't really buff it.
Yeah.
She have Rain Razors, which would have had to be deployed before the 3 of a kind. So that should be pretty face up to Feiyu.
Yeah, I actually really like the design of 3 of a kind. It's cool that it has that stipulation to make sure it doesn't get out of control.
Yep. It was an infecting shot, looks like. There's the other arrow in hand. So send the Bolton shot over. Peter says
it's just a yellow, so easy to block with 1 card.
Yep. I mean, I'd rather not. No reload necessarily really anyway for Peter.
Yeah, totally. He's got the Heat Seeker activation, so he gets to put the top card of his deck into his arsenal face up, and then he gets to add that Sleep Dart into arsenal as well, which is kind of tough. You don't really want 2 arrows in arsenal.
One of them really needs to have like a printed go again.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, you just clog yourself up, and all of a sudden you have 1 arrow and have to do weird stuff like Snapdragons on such an early turn. But Peter's not really thinking. He's here for a good time, not a long time. Because he sort of knows that he definitely needs to apply a critical mass of pressure to Feiyu here to shake him off kilter. And again, he's spending an extra resource every turn for that Heart of Ice.
Right. So it's just coming in with Sleep Dart here. Probably going to see a Snapdragon Scalar's activation.
Okay, so that was at least a blue there. There's a Falcon Wing in hand as well. Okay, so asking for almost guaranteed blocks pretty early here. Feiyu either makes his Kano business happen now, or blocks and does it later. Yeah, no Heart of Ice activation here, even off our blue pitch. So
yeah, must just not have the resources for it.
Happy snappies. No reactions from Feiyu here.
You've been Sleep Darted, my friend. You can't Kano now.
It looks like that wasn't necessarily on the cards. It's literally not on the card now for Feiyu, but for this turn, looks like he was pretty happy to maybe make use of his hand to block here, which is something that, yeah, if you're not familiar with Wizard, Kano definitely needs to do pretty frequently to get himself to a place where he can enact his endgame fantasy, which sometimes happens as early as turn 1 or 2.
Yeah, exactly. So it is pretty fortunate he has Falcon Wing, because this will be like a 4-arrow turn.
Yep.
You know, so after this Searing Shot, he can give Falcon Wing the +1 buff and use his second Voltaire activation, and then also fling Sleep Dart. I mean, excuse me,
drill shot. Right?
Yep. And then still have a card to arsenal. So 4 arrows in a turn is pretty rad if you're the Lexi player. Voltaire strike 4th times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think is how that poem goes.
Sure. Yeah, I'm not sure what the wording is for that. I spoke to Peter earlier on. Obviously, he's a relatively new father. I think his child is 2 months old, and he just looked at me. He's like, "I'm tired, bro. Like, I'm there with you." My kid's my second kid's 3 months old. He's like, "How many rounds is it today?" I'm like, "Oh, Peter, welcome to the battle hardened, my friend. You had better caffeinate thyself, especially if you want to make a run like this. I mean, a win here would be obviously pretty incredible, being 6-1 headed into that last round of Swiss. It might be a longer night ahead for the gentleman.
Yeah, totally. Hopefully bumping him into, you know, a higher seed, maybe into top 8 here, or, you know, potentially he's looking to win out these next 2 rounds and hoping for some losses from those other players in the top 8. A loss with Feiyu would certainly help him out.
Yeah, a couple of things definitely need to go right there.
Yeah. Falcon Wing.
Oh, there we go.
He actually did activate Heart of Ice here.
Yeah, there was obviously no Kano wing to be done.
Yeah.
Because we're slept, so interesting that you still want to pay there. I guess we're respecting. Not really sure what we're respecting. Yeah, Storm Striders. It's a good point. I was thinking, what are we respecting again? Right, it's the boots. Block. You can have some cards. Whoa, drill shot. It's pretty blank. Yeah. Wait, do you have any durability in your equipment? No. Well, yes, you do. I'll put it on your Metacarv's note.
Just in case.
Yeah.
You know, you never know.
Okay. 31 plays 9.
So interesting, though, that extra card we talked about, him getting to be able to arsenal, he chose to use Heart of Ice instead, and now does not have an arsenal card. Now, I'm not the best Lexi player, but that does seem like a different choice, I suppose.
Missing out on a bit of damage for sure.
Yeah. Lessons in Lava definitely gets around some things here. But at most here, putting a value card, potentially part of the combo, maybe another Lessons, so when his Kano ability does come back online, he, you know, maybe has access to some more stuff.
This is on Feiyu's turn, right?
Yeah.
So Kano should have woken up, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe it's until your next turn, or at the end.
Right. Okay. Oh, sure. End of your next turn. Okay.
Yeah.
So extra nasty for Kano. When should Heart of Ice be activated? I mean, it really depends, right? But generally, we see it happen at the start of a turn.
Yeah.
To sort of force Kano's hand then and there. Make the decision between sort of deploying their threats or keeping cards back to block you.
I think I saw Codex in Peter's hand. I'm always wary of playing non-attack actions against Kano, because it just gives you a window to respond, you know. Gets a Wildfire. Oh, thinks about it again. Because he's got to have, like, maybe a combo piece in Arsenal there, right? Maybe like a...
Well, that looks like a combo piece as well. Yeah.
But
yeah, maybe like a blazing, right?
Yeah. Still be hard, though, to get both the Wildfire from hand. Oh, I guess you Ragamuffins.
Ragamuffins it,
right?
Yeah, on top. And then
blazing Storm Striders.
So it also depends on what's on top, right? Like the dream is the Ragamuffins, the top card comes into your hand is a blue, and then you're gassed up and ready to go.
Yeah. But it's going to be hard for Feiyu to get there without any energy potions on the field.
Right, yeah. And, you know, obviously we don't use Final Spring Tunic here anymore. Obviously having that, like, persistent resource available to you when you need it, as opposed to sort of hoping you last long enough to come across that third Tunic counter is important. But, yeah, not a lot of those extra resources to really, I think we're like, yeah, hard to push sort of through some Arcane Barrier.
Yeah, not the most Arcane Barrier, but the Spellfire Cloak does help you gain a resource on your opponent's turn there. So
yeah, it gives it to you when you need it, right? Yeah, as opposed to waiting.
Yeah, exactly.
Functionally, basically the same as Tunic here, because Feiyu's pretty unlikely to take the Tunic counter off in a short game anyway, but if it goes after those sort of 3 turns, he'll need to keep it there for when he tries to win the game.
Exactly. Activating Heart of Ice here from Peter.
Okay.
Pitching
Rain Razors. Well, I mean, with your opponents at 9, you're pretty comfortable spot here. So this may be...
Well, sub 30 is in the
It's
zone
scary.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely scary.
You're in the zone a little. Yeah, I wonder if Feiyu here is thinking, okay, well, he didn't have an arsenal card. He's got to spend a whole resource on this. It wasn't a blue. Maybe I can weather this turn rather than trying to go for it here when he has 3 cards in hand. Could be bluffing that he doesn't have a blue or more resources.
Yeah, I mean, with what? Like potentially 12 block in hand and your opponent's off an arsenal.
Yeah.
Pitch their rain razors already. You probably feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, but you know, if you could test the waters a little bit, I suppose, see what kind of comes off, and then you might have enough life to survive.
All right. Kano time. Scalding rain in the pitch in response to this heart of, well.
There's an energy potion. I know, now everything changes.
Shrug.
Yeah.
Right, all of a sudden the math's a little bit different now.
Yep, because you basically, if you play out the energy potion and that with Spellfire Cloak, basically means you still have the 3 resources you spent to get that energy potion out.
Yeah. So quite often the energy potion is really important for extra Metacarpus node activations that really sort of pay dividends when you get to the Blazing Aether end of the combo. Also sometimes for like that extra, depends on what that spell is in between the Wildfire and the Blazing Aether.
Yep.
Sometimes it's more costly, sometimes you have more than one there. Very quickly you can get out of control with those multiplicative effects. Right, Heat Seeker. Searing Shot? Searing Shot.
Searing Shot into a Premeditate. So Ponder token on hit here, or Ponder Run as we like to say.
Ponder Run, yep.
So choosing Go again, indicated by the 7 attack power, and if I do some quick math, that means it didn't give it +1.
A lot of shrugging here from our Kano player, who has to make the decision of sort of how to block around this. It's not lethal, of course. There's another card in Peter's hand, so how does one get that into Arsenal? Well, Bullseye Braces will allow that for Peter, give him a little bit of a buff. If it's a 0 cost, he can send this sizzling on.
Yeah, it's that Codex I mentioned earlier that he still has in hand.
Of course. So that'll get you a card in Arsenal.
That totally will. We might see Searing Shot twice. Or I think he played an Endless Arrow as well. So could see either of those.
Yeah, maybe the Endless.
Might be some good targets.
Endless coming out would be fine, but you'd end up just arseling it because there's not another way to give it go again.
So much thinking, so much math, so many thinking about your odds, as Kano in these aggressive matchups. That's the kind of thing when you play against an aggressive deck as a wizard, you feel like slightly out of control in the game. Like you can't,
Sometimes like that, it's just too fast, right? If you don't have it, if you're not able to threaten enough damage early enough in the game,
yeah,
you can find yourself just running out of time.
And you just kind of got to stay in the game to be able to win,
You're taking damage here.
Yep.
Just the Aether Dart to block here. I'll have a Ponder token. And what do we got there, Peter? We're going to let this one rumble. Looks like we are going to clean up. So just...
Yeah, he's thinking about playing that Codex.
Yeah, I think just the 1 hour turn probably doesn't feel good enough here.
Yeah.
There it is. That's a Codex of Frailty, no less.
Frailty not affecting Kano, really.
You can have it anyway.
Yeah. It's a present,
A garnish.
Double Ponder.
Double Ponder. Oh my goodness. Turn this guy into a Michelangelo statue.
That is true indeed.
Searing.
Yep. Just a free arrow, deals a little bit more damage.
Yeah, I mean your opponent has 2 cards in hand here. Yep.
Yep. Still hasn't blocked with that Wildfire, so he's holding on to that.
It's a lot of chip damage represented here because of course that Searing comes in at a break point and threatens an extra 1 on hit. So, Feiyu, you either are going to have it or you won't. Double Ponder, give me those cards. Oh, yeah, 3 Oak in hand, right? Oh, well.
Yep. Slap that in Arsenal probably. Maybe not though. It's an interesting decision.
My goodness, your what you were saying matched up so clearly with Peter's body language there. He was probably thinking the same thing. Or head bob back and forth.
Yeah, because if you you want to load the Bolton shot to give it +1, so get a little bit more value out of that, so then it gets to go again.
Patient from Peter here, right? Holding onto those bullseye braces until the last moment, and even then, might have to think twice about dispensing with that equipment, and of course the arcane barrier too that it carries.
Right.
I think Feiyu probably would pass straight back, I would say. Peter says, Heart of Ice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right. So again, Feiyu, do you have it?
Codex of Blood Rot. Love that. Running all 3 codexes in Peter's list.
Well, what a well-read ranger. Yeah, I didn't necessarily think we would see so many of those codices, but hey, Blood Rot Pox tokens with Feiyu with this kind of life don't seem terrible. But yeah, Heart of Ice to respond to here. Remember, if Feiyu does not act now, everything gets much more expensive. Means that even at 27, which is a manageable life total for a Kano player who is gassed up and ready to go, it gets a lot harder when everything costs a bit more. Paying 1 to pop your potion feels horrendous. And here comes your Art of War.
Most likely modes chosen are +1/+1 and
Banish and draw 2. Yep.
Yep. The classics. People
Important.
forget there's other modes
There's
on Art of War.
Yep. It's like when 5 players get their faces bashed in and they have to play them defensively. That's a great moment. I have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Attack, defend from Arsenal.
Well, premeditate into 3 of a kind. So Peter never really losing his full grip of cards here.
Because another Codex of Inertia in hand, so that will not be helpful at all with 3 of a kind on the field.
No.
And a Codex of Blood Rot also? Oh my god.
Yep.
Too many books.
Nerd.
All right, gonna load this Bolton shot +1.
Hey, on board. So we get the +2, of course. Wow, how about the rest? Yep, the old premeditate. So we have a +5, I want to say, on this.
Yeah, coming in for
That is
9, maybe?
9? That's disgusting. Have my cards. Peter says, "Oh, your shields look awful down. Do I have more? Do I have any more arrows here?" I don't want to hope the guy does.
He might. I can't tell if that's a falcon wing or not.
It is. It is a falcon wing.
That's like I got eagle eyes.
Here it comes. That would have been so +1/+1, and that's enough damage. Peter gets it done. He's like, "Wait, are you dead? You sure?"
Yeah, because if he gives falcon wing +1.
Yep. +1 from Art of War.
Yep. So it actually comes in for 5.
It's 5 damage. Feiyu can only block for 3, and that is the game. Peter Loderup, Fab Dad extraordinaire, advances to 6-1 in the standings here. Love to see that. He's having quite the day here at the Battle Hardened Los Angeles. Feiyu, obviously, now I guess that top 8 contention is brought much more into question. And of course, a tough game really weren't able. I guess we see what often happens for Kano up against these aggressive decks, right? Very, very hard to assemble your game plan, very hard to get your pieces together. Lexi is going to ask for blocks, and then she's going to, go around them and really do a lot of damage. Those searing shots coming in by the end of the game, by the last couple turn cycles, right? The incremental extra damage from those searing shots really making a big difference, taking your opponent to 2. That was the magic number for Peter.
Yeah, totally. I mean, just huge turns by Peter there, and it's really just hard to navigate those as Kano if you just kind of don't have it and don't have a way to kind of strip cards in response and that sort of thing. So unfortunate. That's the worst thing about Flesh and Blood is there's always a loser and a winner no matter what happens.
Well, there it is. We've got a little bit of time before we head to the break. I think we still got some time in the round here. Yeah, okay, we'll take a long break, actually. We'll give ourselves a chance to gear ourselves up a little bit more for potentially another round here, a round 8 before we head into that top cut. If you're just joining us, we just saw Lexi, Peter Loderup, succeed and prevail against his Kano opponent in Feiyu. 2 locals battling it out for top 8 contention here in the beautiful city of Pasadena. We're going to go to a long break. We'll be back after this, of course, with more Flesh and Blood. Actually, it's not a long break. It's just how we name it. We're back with more card games soon. Don't go anywhere.